Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Makeup and Misogyny. This is a series where I do my makeup while talking about the struggles that we as women face. So if you're new here, I'm Fatima and I'm a cosmetologist from Orlando, and I'm here to teach you about all things beauty related. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and feel free to subscribe if you like makeup and you're a feminist. So let's get into it. So if you haven't watched my last video, this series is basically similar to the makeup and mystery videos that you might see other beauty YouTubers do. So instead of me talking about ghost stories or scary stories or like murders or whatever or mystery, I talk about misogyny within the South Asian culture. So I feel like in my last video, I kind of held back a lot only because this is a super sensitive and I guess controversial and whatever taboo kind of topic. It's not really something that many people are comfortable talking about only because of the backlash that we receive. So I'm gonna try to be as open as possible when it comes to this topic because it is something serious, and I feel like it's stuff that does need to be addressed, and we are so desensitized to it that it's just something that doesn't get talked about, and if you could see me right now, you would know how nervous I am. I just don't want to say the wrong thing and offend anybody or get canceled. But like I said, at the same time, this is a very serious topic, and like I said, we've been so desensitized to it that people either act like misogyny isn't part of our culture, or they're just plain in denial. So I do want to emphasize that not every South Asian person or family is a misogynist or agrees with these ideologies, but the reason why I'm talking specifically about the South Asian culture, and I know this is a problem that goes on in many different cultures, but the reason why I'm specifically targeting South Asian is because I'm South Asian myself. So if you saw my last video, I kind of talked about this, but I feel like I kind of brushed into it. It was it was a first video and super new, and it's kind of hard, honestly, talking to a camera about this. I get more passionate or into it, and I'm very able to articulate myself when I'm having an ongoing conversation. So please bear with me. This series is going to get only better from here. I am still trying to be able to be comfortable just talking about this to myself, basically, because I'm in the room by myself recording this. But anywho, now don't get me wrong, I love my culture, I love the food, I love the clothing, I love somewhat of the whole family structure about it. But at the same time, if we only focus on the positive things about our culture, the negative things tend to get brushed under the rug. And I feel like talking about the negative things is the only way that we can change and progress forward. If we keep, bottling up these thoughts and emotions and feelings, we're never going to get anywhere, and our culture is going to stay the same for the next hundreds of thousands of however long we have left on this earth, And I feel like for the future generations and our youth, it's important that we start talking about these struggles now, and that we have social media. It's so much easier to be able to connect with other people that have the same opinion and feel the same way. And I feel like just, acknowledging that we have this problem is a step in the right direction. So that's why I wanted to really talk about this on my channel. I feel like as a woman, it's something that's important, and it's something that affects all of us, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. And I feel like the best way to talk about this is by doing my makeup, because one, I feel like when I do my makeup, it's a form of therapy for me. It's still a topic that is so controversial, and not many people, especially women, feel comfortable, coming onto a platform like this and talking about the things that go on within our culture. I myself, if you only knew how nervous I am, I have filmed this intro. This is probably the 10th time I'm filming this intro because of how not scared, but how scary of a topic it can be to talk about. So I'm gonna try my best to really be open as much as I can so I can really get the points that I need to get out of my head and, you know, into this video. I feel like it's so important, and the reason why I keep giggling or laughing, I don't find this funny at all. It's just I get nervous, and it's just a thing that I do when I get nervous. So I do apologize in advance. I don't think this topic is funny. I'm just nervous as heck. But anyway, so I'm just gonna start clipping my hair out of the way. And again, these clips are from my brand Sparkling Rose Cosmetics. I absolutely love these clips. They're so cute, and I love using them to clip my hair out of the way. So I feel like I really need to dive deep into this subject so I can really make my points and explain why misogyny is such a dangerous, you know, ideology to have or something to agree with, and why it's such a big problem within the South Asian culture. To get started, I feel like I really need to explain some key words. So one of the key words that I need to explain is misogyny, because I feel like when we use the word misogyny, sometimes some people might not understand exactly what that means. But basically, misogyny is the dislike, contempt of, or ingrained prejudice against women. And another word that's really important is patriarchy. So patriarchy is a system or society of government where men hold the power and women are largely excluded. Another definition is a system or government where the father or oldest male is the head of the family and descent is traced through the male line. So those are two key terms, and I feel like they're very important because a lot of people who are feminists will often use those terms, and the people that don't understand or agree with feminism, they think like, you know, I feel like they don't really know what those words mean. Like, they're just words, you know? So I feel like it's important to explain exactly what we're talking about. Another term I want to define is feminism, because I feel like some people as well don't know what feminism really means. They just think, oh, it's a bunch of women that hate men, and, you know, they just want to be able to run naked and all this crazy stuff that people that don't understand might think. So basically, feminism is a range of social and political movements and ideologies that aim to define and establish the political, economic, personal, and social equality of the sexes. So basically, feminism is not this ideology where women hate men. And I'm not saying that some feminists don't hate men, or they do. That's up to the person. But the idea altogether, the movement altogether, is not that we're saying, oh, we hate men and we want to get rid of all of men, or, you know, this and that of the other, whatever else people that don't understand what feminism means. And another thing is, I also want to explain that a lot of these examples that I will be talking about are things that I have witnessed or faced personally or heard personal. So these are all personal experiences and just things that I've seen throughout social media. On TikTok, I follow a lot of, I guess, like brown girl TikTok, and there's like some girls on there, you know, and they talk about like the same thing that I'm talking about. And I read the comments, and there are so many women around the world that agree with what they're saying. So that's why I feel like this is a topic that I want to talk about and that I should talk about as a woman myself. And especially with the little platform that I do have, hopefully it can grow soon and I can reach more people. But I feel like this is something that I need to do. And another thing is, I've always wanted to be an attorney for like the longest time in my life, and I decided not to go to law school. I decided to do marketing instead. But I feel like, and the reason why I wanted to be an attorney is because I've wanted to help people. So like it's a passion of mine to help people that, you know, are oppressed and, you know, just not being treated right. I always wanted to be a human rights attorney. So instead of me going to law school, this is the next best thing. And social media is so powerful, and I feel like messages can get spread so much faster than, you know, laws and whatnot. And I feel like social media is the place where all of this gets started. You know, they learn from here, and then that's when they hold everybody else accountable. And there's so much stuff and social movements that have happened, and it's due to social media, the power of social media. So like I said, this is a great place for me to be able to talk about this and, you know, do what I wanted to do and been passionate about, which is helping people who are basically oppressed. Let's just jump right in. I know I've been like saying this like for the longest time, but I am just trying to get all my thoughts out and, you know, really just cover myself and just really put out there that I'm not trying to offend anybody. And the stuff that I say, I don't want to entice any hate between any people or to specific like groups of people or anything like that. This is just to bring awareness to a topic that is very important. So parents always want to be in control, and especially of girls. So if you're a girl, you will always for the rest of your life be controlled in the ways that you act, what you say, how you talk, how you dress, how you eat, how you walk, how you look. Literally anything that has to do with a girl will always forever be criticized, even down to your weight. Sad to say, but it's like literally everything has to be like controlled. You have to, you know, be like the perfect future wife, and we are expected from the time that we're young to learn to be submissive, whether it's to our fathers, in a way like meaning like to like listen to everything that they say, do what they say, or our families, so then we can learn to be submissive when we get married, and then be submissive to our partners, our husbands, you know. And again, not every South Asian family or household is like this, and not every you know, marriage in the Indian culture is like this either. There are some people that are good and they realize like, oh, this is wrong. But again, I am talking for the people that do go through this. I want to give them a voice because this is true. It happens. Just because it doesn't affect millions and hundreds of millions and billions of people, even if it affects 10,000, it's still happening. And the reason why this is so important to me is because I literally had a conversation with somebody that was telling me like, oh, this never happened to me, so it doesn't happen. And I know a handful of people that don't complain about this, so it's not true. Like, it's just in people's head. And no, like, that's just because you haven't experienced something doesn't mean that it's not happening to other people around you. Like, that's such a selfish thing to say, a selfish way to think. And so I feel like, again, I am here to give people that can't speak for themselves a voice. So yeah, let's continue. So from the time a girl is young, she is not to have an identity of her own whatsoever. If you have an identity of your own, no, you are wrong. No one's gonna like want to be with you, this and that and the other, and there's something wrong with you and you're disrespectful, and all that crazy stuff is what you'll be told if you have an identity of your own. So another thing that generally happens is that sometimes the girl will get completely broken down, mostly by her parents or family, and the way that they do that is by isolating you. So when I say that, like, basically you're not allowed to like go out and get an education, you're not allowed to go out and work, you might not be allowed to hang out with friends, because any type of if you set foot outside of the house, you are prone to being brainwashed, and basically thinking for yourself. And anybody that's in your life that tells you that, oh, you should live for yourself and you should be your own person and make your own decisions, oh, they are bad, they have brainwashed you, they're bad friends for you, they're a bad influence, because their ideologies don't line up with your parents. And you know, and it's like, sometimes you do need that outside source. And I'm not saying like every parent is bad for controlling who their child is friends with, because I understand that yes, there can be such a thing as bad friends. However, if you are instilling into your daughter mostly, and I know men have their own fair share of trouble, I'm not but just by me mentioning women specifically, I'm not denying that men have everything perfect. That's not my point. I am specifically focusing on women, so I want to also make that clear. But once you start like telling your daughter like, oh, she needs to learn how to do house chores because when she gets married she's gonna have to do all that, or when she gets married, even if she's being physically abused or she's unhappy, she must stay in the marriage because divorce is a bad thing, because if you get divorced then people are gonna think our family is bad and that we didn't teach you anything. So when you're teaching your daughters to think like that and grow up to be like that, to basically not be their own person and everything that they do is to please a man when they're ready to get married, if that's how you're treating your daughter or raising your daughter to think, then I agree that friends in her life are not a bad thing. She should have people on an outside source trying to educate her to be better and not have to grow up with that toxic mindset. Another thing that is expected out of girls is learning how to cook, clean, take care of the household, basically be a second mother. So there's no really such thing of going to school to get a higher education. Yeah, you can, get your basic stuff, but it's really like most of your existence is basically for you to learn these house chores, get married and go into a family and, have kids and just continue a man's name down the line, or like continue their family line. So that's basically the biggest goal in the South Asian culture. And it's just crazy to me how women are just looked at as like these baby making machines. Like we literally just exist because that's our only purpose in life, is to get married, and that's it, and have children and be a slave to somebody else. Like it's just crazy that there are people that really think like that, and there are people that agree with that, and there are women that agree with that. They think like, yes, that's perfectly how it should be, that's great, yes. And I'm not saying that we as girls don't want to do any type of housework, or that we don't want to get married, or I feel that, yes, everybody should be learning housework, not just the boys, not just girls, but everybody, because it's a thing that you need to know in life. Like you should know how to cook, you should know how to clean, learn how to do your own laundry. Like nobody's your parent. Like what's gonna happen, when you have kids and they go off to college and mommy's not there, or like sister's not there, like especially for the boys, like to take care of their stuff. Like what, are they just gonna be like dirty slobs? Like it's just common sense. Like why wouldn't you want to set all your children up to be like excelling in life and to be able to take care of themselves? Why would you want them to have to depend on somebody to take care of them? Like that is just a huge recipe for like disaster, basically. And there are some girls that's what they want to do in life, and if that's what you want to do in life, if you want to be a stay-at-home wife, cook, clean, all that stuff, more power to you. Nobody's saying like, oh, you shouldn't do that, but it's just like, why can't girls and women have the choice to do what they want to do? Like we want to have choices. We don't want to be told as soon as we're born that, hey, you are going to be the cooking, and the person that's going to be cooking, the person that's going to be cleaning, taking care of everybody, the children, all by yourself, and the men, they just go out and work. Like we just want choices, and I really don't see what the problem is, and like why people are having a hard time adapting to that. Like I just don't understand what's so hard to understand about that. Like, I just don't get it. Like, I just don't understand. The next bullet point that I have, I just want to throw like a trigger warning out there. But basically I want to talk about like sexual abuse, what happens when girls are, abused like that. I was reading an article, and I will link it down below so you can check it out for yourself, but Basically, in 2017, a 13-year-old girl was raped somewhere in India, and the elders in her family decided that they would get her married off to her rapist because she ended up getting pregnant. And the thought process behind that is because women are looked at as damaged goods once they're raped. It's like once you are not a virgin anymore, you're considered an item that's used and nobody's gonna want you, nobody's gonna marry you. So in this case, because she was unfortunately raped, she wasn't a virgin anymore, so therefore she is used, and now she's never gonna find somebody that wants to marry her. And that's so toxic. That is such a disgusting way to think, that the only purpose for a woman to get married, or the only qualification for a woman to get married, is that she's a virgin. Like, that is so disgusting to me. And just reading that, and just right now me thinking about that, it literally makes my blood boil. Like, there are people that literally think like that, and I know people personally that have that mindset, and it's just so crazy. Like, it's just crazy that we are in 2021 and there are people that think like that. Like, it's just disgusting. And then when you try to call them out on that type of thought, they want to say like, oh, you're talking too much, or oh, you're being brainwashed by the Western civilization, and look what America's doing to our kids. And they even say some stupid line like "Aajkal na bacha," which means today's kids, and that's a Gujarati phrase, and like I literally hear that all the time, and it's just so irritating because why are we looked down upon when we want to bring change within our culture? Like, why? We just want to make this culture safer for women. We want to make this culture a better, like a good culture. Like, we want to be proud of it. Like, we don't want to be known as like people that, you know, mistreat women. Like, there is literally an article that was written in 2020, and it's like the top 10 worst countries for gender equality. All of them are in the eastern side of the world. You don't have this problem in the Western culture or the Western hemisphere. Like, yeah, we have our own fair share of problems, and I'm not saying like women have it easy here, but you know, at least we're able to drive. At least we're able to go out to school, get our careers. Our only life purpose over here on this side of the world is not to just get married off to some man and have their babies. Like, we have the freedom and the choice to be able to get married if we want to, say no, you know, have kids if we want to, things like that. Like, we have a lot more freedoms than women around the world, and that is something that I'm very thankful for. And this is like another reason why I have to speak up about this, because there are women around us that they're not able to even have the choice of being on birth control, or their bra strap showing. Oh, that's such a big problem. You know, like stupid little things like that. Like, the things that we take for granted, women around the world don't have access to, or they don't have the choice or the freedom to do what they want. And like, it's just so crazy. Like, there are some women that can't even wear a skirt because, oh, if a guy looks at her, it's her fault because she wore a skirt. Like, just dumb things like that. And it's like, I know these type of things, like, they happen around the world, even here, stupid things like that. But it's like, for what reason? Like, why can't we train our sons not to have those stupid ideologies or thoughts? Like, why can't we focus that time that we take so much on, you know, trying to police our daughters? Why can't we take that time and police our sons? And I like, this is like the third or fourth like bullet point. So I have a lot. I'm so passionate about this subject, and I need to like get through everything that I want to say on, you know, do my makeup. So I'm gonna try to stick to my bullet points. But another thing is that we are taught to always be patient because we are the birth givers. The struggles that our mothers went through, that our fathers put our mothers through, some of us, we are taught those lessons as girls to take notes and learn from. Like, we should always be patient, you know, in every case, no matter what's going on, instead of using those experiences to teach our sons how not to treat your future wife. Like, why are we so focused on making sure that the girls will never, like, you know, will always stay in her marriage no matter how it's going, whether she's happy or not in it? Like, it's just mind-boggling to me that, like, we are so focused on policing our daughters that we totally, like, end up neglecting our sons and raising them. So when these boys, some of these boys grow up, they grow up emotionally immature, you know, because they always rely on mom, and the moms like to love to baby their boys. And then once the boys reach like a certain age and they get ready to get married, it's going to be now the wife's responsibility to take care of a grown man child, whereas the woman is completely mature because she had to basically take care of everything in the house, you know. And we are taught that we need to, or not taught, but like we basically don't really have a choice but to mature emotionally a lot quicker. And just in general, like, I've heard the term that boys mature, or girls mature faster than boys all the time, like as if it's like some type of excuse for the way boys act. Like, anytime you bring up an issue, like when I used to bring up issues with my brothers, or not with my brothers, but like things that I wasn't allowed to do but my brothers were, or like the way my brothers would say things or act, I would always be met with, girls mature faster than boys do. Like, literally, like as if that's like an excuse that they're allowed to do it, even though like we're literally all the same age. You know, and that's what the boys are met with. That's what they learn growing up. And like I said, instead of teaching all sets of children how to behave and take care of themselves, we mostly focus on the girls, and the boys learn to, you know, that they're the ones that have to uphold the family, like they're the ones that have to go be the bread earners and take care of their wives and stuff, like financially have kids to continue their line of succession, or whatever you want to call it. And then we're left with taking care of, you know, big man children, babies. And then another bullet point that I have on this list is that too much independence is a bad thing. So as a girl, if you speak your mind, you'll never find a husband, you'll never be a good wife because you talk too much or you're too complicated. And I've literally been told before that like nobody was gonna marry me because I have an attitude problem, just because I don't agree with certain things that a typical woman should do, like, you know, not burping, for example. Like, literally everybody burps. It's something that's natural. Or like other stupid things, like not being able to, you know, wear different types of makeup that I want to do because I'm not married yet, or like because, oh, I don't want to like learn how to clean chicken. Like, okay, why can't my husband learn how to clean chicken? You know, like, why is that responsibility something that is only gonna fall on me? Like, as if when I get married, like my husband isn't going to be wanting to help, you know? So I'm about to get super personal right now, but part of the reason why I kind of married outside of my like culture was because of the things that I heard growing up, like literally the most ridiculous stuff. And it just like it was a huge repellent for me to like stay away from, I guess, like brown boys. And again, I'm not saying like every like South Asian boy or man is like this, but you know, like when you constantly hear something, like it just like puts you off, and then it like discourages you. Like, it gets very discouraging, and like that's the effects that these misogynistic ideologies have. So thank yourselves for that, you know? Like, when girls marry outside of their culture, it's because of what y'all elders are doing and ignorant people. So stop with this stupid ideologies and watch how girls are gonna start marrying back into their cultures again. But anyway, moving on to the next point. Another important bullet point that I want to cover is talking about sex. So that is another thing within our culture that is like so like, oh my god, like you're not supposed to talk about that. Like, it's only for married people to talk about. But it's like sex is such like an important thing to learn about, because whether you are, you know, gonna stay a virgin until you get married or not, like that's really nobody's business but yours. But like if you choose to, you know, do that before you get married, I can't even like say it like comfortably because it's something that's like not widely talked about. But anyway, like we aren't really taught like the dangers of having unprotected sex, like STDs and stuff like that, like why condoms are important. So imagine like a bunch of like horny teenagers with no knowledge, like just going out and like, you know, having sex, and then they catch like scary diseases because they didn't know better, because when they had the opportunity to learn about it in school, their parents opted them out of that curriculum or thing because they didn't want their kids getting tainted, their ideas getting tainted about sex by the Western cultures. And then it's like, we're not going to teach our children about that because, oh, they shouldn't be having sex. Like there are parents out there that are so ignorant, like they would rather just avoid the topic altogether because, oh, my child isn't married, so why do they need to know? Rather than just take the time to freaking teach your child, so just in case if something happens, they're just prepared. Like, you know, it's just crazy. And it's just, I can't, when I look back and just knowing like there was just certain things, basic knowledge that I was basically robbed of not knowing. Like, it's crazy. And the amount of anger that I have because of how ignorant people can be. Like, that's what happens when, you know, you refuse to, like, first of all, adapt with the changes. Second, like, when you just refuse to like learn, like, you know, the people that have migrated to like different countries, like Western countries, like if you refuse to change with the times and like get access to that knowledge, like I'm sorry, but like I don't really know what to say. Like, that's very ignorant to like want to just stick to your old ways of thinking because, oh, that's how my culture is, and like I love my culture and I'm just gonna preserve every single. Another bullet point that I have is that some of us are not allowed to wear makeup or certain outfits or go on trips or color our hair or remove body hair until we're married. I'm a walking example of all of the above. So when I started middle school is when I got my period, and I started becoming more girly, and, you know, I wanted to like wear makeup and stuff. And I remember like I always used to get in trouble for like wearing eyeliner in 8th grade and stuff like that. And after high school, like I've always loved makeup. I always like play with makeup all the time. I had so much makeup. I still have so much makeup, but at that time, like I had my little like CoverGirl, like Maybelline and like all that stuff. And I was always experimenting, you know, with different looks, like getting into it. And I remember like in high school, after I graduated, I wanted to go to like cosmetology school, and so I did. And, you know, being in cosmetology school, like naturally we're gonna be, you know, wanting to do different things with our hair and makeup. And it's just part of like the industry. Like, you're gonna want to experiment with all these things. And so I remember like wearing different colored lipsticks and being like a single girl. I would go to like family events with my red lipstick on, and my like I would always get asked or told, oh, why are you wearing red lipstick? Like, you're not married. Only married women are supposed to wear different colored lipstick. Like, you should only stick to like chapstick and like nudes and natural colors and things like that. And like it got to a point where like I wasn't even allowed to like do my makeup how I wanted to because I was supposed to wait for my wedding. Like, I was also even told like, oh, when I become a bride, like I'm not gonna look different because I'm wearing makeup. And like that is a form of art. That's how I was expressing myself. Like, I'm not wearing makeup because I think Bobby Joe down the street is turned on by my makeup and he's gonna want to marry me. Like, girls don't wear makeup for guys. We don't wear makeup. I'm not putting on pink eyeshadow because I think my husband's attracted to that. Like, I'm wearing pink eyeshadow because I have a pink eyeshadow palette, so why not? Or like going on trips. Anytime, like, even if I brought up the idea that like I wanted to study abroad, I was always met with like, oh, you're not going by yourself, like just wait till you get married, wait till you get married. Like, literally anything I wanted to do, crossing the street, oh, wait till you get married. Like, listening to ridiculous things like that. And it's like, why should I have to put my life on hold for a guy, like just to wait for a husband? Like, girls are still being told that. Like, I for 100% for a fact know that there are girls that are younger than me that are still being told like, oh, you have to wait until you get married to like basically live your life. And like, that's so stupid, because all these boys, and including my brothers, like they were always allowed to go places with their friends, and sometimes they wouldn't even like tell my parents and they would just like go. And meanwhile, I'm over here like asking permission and being denied because I'm a girl, and like I have to wait till I get married because, oh, if I travel, like people are gonna get the wrong idea and they're not gonna want me for their son. Like, I don't, again, like it just makes me so mad, like so mad. And I understand that, yes, the world can be dangerous, and they're probably just saying that because, you know, the world is dangerous. But why not teach your daughters how to fight then? Why not like put us in karate class or teach us how to defend ourselves? Or why not raise your sons to be held accountable so they can stop attacking people? How about that? And I know like not all attackers are just men. I know that there are some women attackers out there, but still, like, that's the reason that we're not allowed to go places is because we might get kidnapped, or we might, God forbid, get raped or something. And it's like, so we're just supposed to stay in the house, like literally, but our brothers and stuff can go do whatever they want at all hours of the night. Like, why is our curfew at 10 o'clock, but my brothers can be out till whatever time? Like, you know, it's just unfair. And then coming back to the body hair, that used to grind my gears. Like, it used to make me so mad that, like, I'm a very hairy person. Like, again, I'm gonna get personal, but I am a very hairy person. I grow hair in like the craziest places, and I used to get made fun of like all the time growing up. And so not being able to like wax my arms and my legs and whatever, like I used to have really hairy arms and I used to get made fun of literally all the time. I still remember this girl, she would bully me because of my arm hair, and she would be like, oh, my dad has less arm hair than you, and your arms look worse than my dad's, and this and that. And then she would literally pull up her arm and then compare it next to mine. Like, all the kids would like call me like silly names like werewolf and stuff like that. I mean, whatever, it is what it is. But it was just really heartbreaking that I wasn't able to remove my body hair because I didn't have a husband. And if I remove my arm or my leg hair, then, oh, I'm doing something then I won't have something to look forward to when I get married. Are you kidding me? And like, now that like I used to go through life like that, really like embracing my body hair, now that I'm married, I'll be honest, I don't always wax or shave my arms or legs. Like, I'm very comfortable now with my body hair. And now I'm hearing like, oh, from, you know, family members or other people that I know, like, oh, why don't you remove your body hair for your husband and this and that? And it's like, because how about all those times when you guys were telling me like, oh, I need to be comfortable with it, so now that I'm comfortable, it's a problem, you know? So it's like never like a win-win situation over here. So, you know, like that's how our body hair, like even our body hair is controlled by men. And it's not just me, like there are multiple girls out there that I know personally that are having the same issue, you know, a lot of like younger girls. So I wish like I just started shaving or whatever when I wanted to, you know. And now when I remove my body hair, it's mostly because I want to. Like I'm not doing it because, oh, my husband needs to be attracted to me. Like I have complete, like everything that that I was supposed to have in my mind, I grew up definitely like the opposite. So I'm a walking example of by force doesn't work. Like it doesn't work. If you think by forcing your child to like stay home and be antisocial and this and that and just focus on school, like if that's your mentality, then I can tell you right now, like it's not gonna last, and then your child might turn out to be the complete opposite of what you wanted. From the experiences that I've had on my own is kind of like how I'm going to raise my future children. Like it's definitely helped me realize like a lot of toxic behaviors that I will not be passing down to my children. But yeah, we're basically like, girls are basically not supposed to live for themselves, as I keep saying, and it's a reoccurring theme, honestly. So the next, I'm gonna skip a little bit of these because these are a little bit repetitive, but now I want to move on to our expectations after marriage. So as stated above, we have been always raised to be submissive, and always, you know, do what our partner wants us to do and this and that. So we are always expected to do as our man says. Again, not all women, not all husbands are like this, but to the ones that are, this is what happens. You're expected to do what your man says. So if your man says he doesn't want you to work, he doesn't want you to hang out with people, he doesn't want you to be in contact with your family, you are supposed to comply. No questions, no answers. And if you do, oh my God, it's like the end of the story for you. Like you are the worst person ever if you go against what your husband says. And in some instances, it can be very dangerous, like especially like when your partner tells you that you're not allowed to have contact with your family. Like that's very dangerous. And I don't like, if we raised our daughters better, then they would know to watch out for these red flags, you know, like because, and I feel like for somebody that doesn't really understand, they're gonna be like, oh, so why would you get married to that person or this and that? Like, why wouldn't you just leave? Like, you have to understand that when you completely break a person down like that, in this case, like girls, like when you completely brainwash them to think like, to just be obedient, and like they're not allowed to learn from any outside sources except from the home or like these people that are teaching them these toxic ways of thinking. I mean, what do you expect? Like, they're not gonna know any better. And that's why there's a lot of crimes against women that happen, and basically like it's the husbands that do it, you know, because the women don't know any better. And you can say the same for domestic violence survivors. Like, they don't know any better, because if they did, they wouldn't be in that situation in a way, you know? Like, they know that they have the power and the strength to walk away and say no and not put themselves in those types of situations. But somebody that doesn't know better, unfortunately, they're not. And that's so sad. That is so sad that there are women out there, unfortunately, that don't know their worth, don't know their values because of how they grew up or how they were raised or how they were taught to think, you know? And that's why I made it my mission. I want to be able to speak about this and like make women realize that are in these situations, like, you know, try to stop this. Another thing that I want to talk about is cheating in the marriage. So say if your husband cheats on you, it's not your husband's fault, it's your fault, because you could have done something to prevent him from looking for happiness or whatever he was looking for outside of the marriage by cooking more, cleaning more, looking more presentable, giving into his desires in the bedroom, like as if cheating is just like something that's supposed to happen in your marriage. And that's what some women are told, that basically it's their fault that their marriage is like that, or that their husband isn't happy with them, and like, you know, what did you expect was going to happen? And it's like, there's absolutely no pity or anything that people feel for the woman. Like it's literally, it's always going to be like her fault no matter what happens. And the reason why I say that is because it's something that I've heard myself. I have literally heard that myself, and it was just something that, it was so heartbreaking to me. It was so heartbreaking that instead of people feeling sympathy for her and, you know, understanding where she's coming from and like trying to console her, they were making her feel bad, like it was her fault that her husband acted out in that type of way. And it's a never-ending game of victim blaming, whether a woman has been raped or cheated on or hit or anything. It's always going to be the victim's fault. Like, what could you have done to prevent that from happening, you know? Whereas instead of focusing the blame on the abuser, or like what could the abuser have done to not do that, you know? And coming back to like the whole like not sleeping with your husband type thing, or in general like the cheating thing, it's one thing if your husband's needs aren't met, but if your needs are not met, who cares? That's all out the window. Like, as long as, you know, you're doing everything that you can for your husband and making him a happy home and cooking for him and making sure that the kids are taken care of, like, and the kids thing, that's another crazy thing. So naturally, obviously, women are the birth givers. Like, women give birth to the children, and in some instances, the fathers are very much in their children's lives, you know, like both parents, because at the end of the day, it takes two to have a child. So why not have two to raise that child, you know? Like, why is it that only one parent is the person that's supposed to raise the child? But anywho, we literally have people that if you tell your family, or if you tell anybody like in our like community or anything, like, oh, my husband helps with the children, people look at that as, wow, like how lucky you are. Like, our standards for men are so low that like people will congratulate the husband for wanting to take care of his kid, or taking care of his kid, or helping his wife cook and clean. Like, people celebrate that, and it's like, why are we celebrating that? Those are like things that people are supposed to do. Like I said, it takes two to make a kid. Like, that's what the father is supposed to do. Just because you bring your son or your child to like an event with you, or you're babysitting or anything, like, that's what you're supposed to do. You're not really supposed to get any type of like praise, like, oh my god, wow, like, oh my god, he's watching your kid. That we need to stop praising men to take care of their children, or we need to stop praising men that take care of their children, because like I said, it's what they're supposed to do. And you know, that's a thought that and I'll be honest, that is not an original thought that I had. It's not like something like I just thought about myself. I had actually come across that in a TikTok video. There was a guy talking about that, and I was like, oh my god, like, that's so true. Like, why is it on our bucket list to get married? Or I don't know if that's what you would really call it, but like for a lot of brown girls, on our list for a husband, it's like, oh, I want a husband that's gonna help me cook and clean and, you know, help me take care of the house. Why are we looking Like, why is that even something that's a requirement in a partner? Like, that just shows how unnormalized it is for men to do housework within our culture. Like, it's literally like something that a girl looks for when she is looking for a potential partner, is somebody that is going to be equal in housework and look at her as an equal, you know? And it's just so mind-boggling that there are still people out there that deny that this even happens. Like, they deny these experiences. They think like, oh, if a woman speaks out, like, you're just being, like I said, difficult, or that the Western ideologies are just coming and changing everything. And, you know, no, it's just crazy to see how low the standards are for men within our culture. It's crazy. And like I said, everything that I'm talking about is personal experiences and things that I have witnessed myself. Like, these are not just things that, everything that's on this list isn't just something that, like, I just had a dream about. Like, oh, I was just sitting one day and just thought, like, oh, this stuff happens. Like, no, these are real life experiences that I have witnessed on my own. And it just, like, I just, like, sit and I, like, think about it. Like, why are we allowing this? And then again, like, if we talk about it, like, oh, it's something like bad that shouldn't be talked about, shouldn't be, like, discussed. And it's sad, to be honest. Like, it's just sad to know that there are people that want this to continue and they don't want to change and they refuse to change. And it's just, and then they expect that the future generation is going to be the same way. Like, why would you want the future to continue like that? It just doesn't make any type of sense to me. Like, make it make sense. And I feel like, and this list literally just keeps getting long. Like, it's just so long. There are so many things on here that is just so normalized within the culture. But I think I'm gonna start wrapping this up because I'm starting to come to an end with my makeup, and I feel like it's just stuff that it gets pretty repetitive at this point. I mean, there's literally just one mindset or one basic ideology, and it's like, women are not allowed to exist. Women only exist for the pleasure of men, and we are only on this earth to fulfill anything that has to do with being there for a man. Like, that's what our role in life is in the culture. And so that's why a lot of this is just, like, pretty much repetitive. And it's like, I mean, how much more backwards could it be, you know? One of the last few bullet points that I want to talk about is staying in toxic marriages. So earlier I was saying, like, divorce is a bad thing and, like, you're looked down upon, you know, if you leave. People are going to start talking about your family and say how they didn't treat you better and whatnot, blah blah blah. So staying in a marriage is the thing that you're supposed to do, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how unhappy you are. You have to stay in that marriage. Like, if you get divorced, it's the end of the world for you. You're never gonna find somebody else. You know, you're used goods, as we stated earlier. Your family is bad and they don't know any better. Now people are gonna, like, think ill of them. And that's one of the biggest things that is in our culture, is what will people think. Log kya kahenge. Like, that is one of the biggest, most annoying things ever, is the Hindi phrase, why are we so hell-bent on caring what people think? If somebody doesn't pay your bills, why would you even care what they think about you? Like, if you are unhappy in a relationship, why is it that, oh, the neighbors next door are going to think that we are a bad family, so therefore you have to stay in your marriage or your relationship? Like, it doesn't matter how bad it is for the girl, even if she's, like, on the verge of almost being murdered, that doesn't matter. Like, and then like, God forbid something bad does happen and she ends up, like, her husband really ends up torturing her until, you know, it is the end of her life. That's when people will be like, oh, why didn't she just leave, this and that? But it's like, during the time when she was begging to leave, people were saying like stupid things like, what are the people going to think of our family? Like, it's never a good idea to leave your marriage, because you'll never hear the end of it, and you'll always be like that outcast, you know? And again, there are some families that are not that way. They don't think that way. They want their daughters to leave if they're not happy, and they 100% support her decision. But again, there are still people out there that don't, and they tell their daughters like, oh, if you leave, we're not going to support you, and you know, you're on your own, and you're going to make us unhappy, and basically like emotionally blackmailing their daughters into staying in these toxic relationships. And another thing is, apparently marital rape doesn't exist. Like, it's an ideology, and I did some research, and that's still till today, people in countries in South Asia believe that marital rape is not real. Like, once you get married, there's no such thing. And if that doesn't in itself make your blood boil, I mean, I don't really know what else will. Like, why are some men so hateful towards women? Like, why aren't we just allowed to live? Why does every single part of us need to be controlled for a man? And like, our bodies exist for just the pleasure of men and for having babies. Like, it's just so scary that there are people that agree with these mindset, that agree with these opinions and ways of thinking. And it's really sad. And again, I have heard that myself with my own ears, so that's why that was something that I really wanted to like talk about. And I feel like it's so toxic to tell somebody that just because it's so toxic to tell somebody to stay in a marriage or a relationship that's so bad for them mentally and physically and emotionally, to stay because of what people are going to say about your family. Like, to me, that is so disturbing, and you have to be so like screwed up in the head to do that to somebody, you know, to brainwash them and break them down to that point where that's the advice that you're giving them, instead of telling them and comforting them that it's going to be okay. Like, you're allowed to walk out of that. Like, it's okay. We're all here for you, you know? I just don't understand that. And then you hearing that from family members, it's so scary. And there are people that are going to disagree with that and say like, oh, there's no problem with that, like, you're supposed to, like, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, yeah, you're supposed to stay in a marriage, you're supposed to work things out, but once the other person stops trying, or if it gets too dangerous for you, you're allowed to walk away. You are allowed to walk away. It's okay. Like, who cares what people are going to say about that? Like, that's not even a given. Like, that shouldn't even be something up for discussion, you know? And people will make it their business. Other families will make it their business as well to like tell the woman what to do in that situation, you know? Like in that story that I shared earlier about the 13-year-old girl getting raped and then being forced to marry her rapist. It's just disgusting, and it's so scary. And it's just so disturbing to know that there are people out there that don't want to talk about this, and they just want to like brush this all under the rug and continue to desensitize girls as they start coming and, you know, growing through this generation. But thankfully, we're starting to realize that this is all wrong and this way of thinking is very bad. So there are people that are trying to speak up and take a step against it and, you know, educate everybody, and even the elders in our community. And there are some people that are accepting this and they want to change, and they are against this whole misogynistic ideology. And so we are progressing, but like I said, we need to be able to talk about this more and put it out there and have these hard conversations and stop calling people weak or brainwashed or difficult, and, you know, they're just being over dramatic when they bring up these type of topics. Like, these are the types of topics that should be talked about, not ridiculous things like, oh, what can you cook? How can you be of use for my son? Or how can you be of use for your future husband, you know? But anyways, that concludes today's video. I know I was talking so much and I feel like I did get super passionate, and I hope I didn't go off on a tangent. I was trying to stay as on topic as possible while doing my makeup, but I feel like these are topics that are very important, and I had to give these examples, and I had to talk about this to really be able to keep this series going. And for anybody who doesn't understand the struggles and the difficulties, like, I really wanted to break this down and bring this to light, I guess, just so everything going forward can make sense and I can provide like a backstory on the extremities and why this is so important to me. But anyways, I'm just gonna finish up my makeup with some setting spray. And I have this new technique of using my beauty sponge to really set the setting spray so my makeup can last. But I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I hope you guys love this makeup look. Super outside of my comfort zone. I've never done an eyeshadow like this before, so I'm surprised that I was able to stay on topic, do my makeup, and finish everything. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and my other social medias. I'll leave everything down in the description below. But with that being said, I hope you guys have a good rest of your week, and I will catch you on the next one.